What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. I'm here with Brian Daigle from Tottenham on Tour to get through the last 24 hours of Tottenham news. How are we doing, Brian?
Doing great, my brother. Doing great. It's always a pleasure, as you know, to be on the channel and be with you and speak with people in the chat when they leave their comments. And looking forward to another update with yourself.
Yeah, a lot to get through today, actually. And we're going to start off talking on the injury situation, as Tom Allnutt from The Times has said that Postecoglou hopes to have Destiny Udogie, James Maddison and Vicario back for the game against Manchester United, which will be, let's say, a massive boost going into the weekend, isn't it?
It is a massive boost. Obviously, it depends how much game time they're able to put in, and does he put all three in at the beginning, or does he manage their minutes as we've been hearing? Also, does he try and keep them as fit as and fresh as available for the Europa League? It's always good to hear you get returning players, and that at least they'll be amongst the training ground on the hard grass doing the hard work, and we'll see what their development is.
Yeah, I mean, these three players are set to be in the squad. I feel like I don't think maybe Vicario starts, but I don't think Maddison or Udogie starts. I think they both get minutes off the bench. And then after that, you've got the returns of players like Brennan Johnson and Wilson Odebear as well. So you're starting to get players on the bench, and you're starting to get options now, finally, that we haven't had in so long.
Yeah, you're right. And with Destiny, I think this injury is really, he hasn't really recovered from the season-ending injury last season, has he? He came in and then obviously got injured. His form has been suffering as well. And then the big question is with Jed Spence, what happens there? But I think Vicario, like you said, I think Vicario, the magnitude of this game and the importance of it, I can see Vicario, if he is 100% fit, not match fit, but I can see him being the one that would definitely stake a first-team place.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at Pedro Porro, right, he's played the most amount of minutes across any player or in any top league, which is madness, right? So once Udogie gets the full fitness, I would like to see Spence right back and Udogie left back.
That would be the one, wouldn't it? Because Porro, I think his bad form that he's had recently is solely related to the amount of minutes he's had to play without having a rest. Obviously, he advances forward and is caught out. That's what Ange's asking him to do. But if there's anyone in that team that needs a rest, it's him. A significant rest to recharge and ready for the last part of the season. So I would love to see Destiny and Spence.
Yeah, and I mean, the other players that need a rest, you're looking at Sonny, you're looking at Decky. I mean, particularly Decky. Decky just looks like half the player that he was in the first part of the season, with players like Maddison, coming back this weekend, and then Brennan Johnson or potentially Wilson Odebear in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, we'll be able to get players like Sonny and Decky some rest in the coming weeks. And definitely, like before the Europa League comes around in March, we're just going to need to get these players some rest in their legs in preparation for that, because that's what's got to happen now. From now to the end of the season, all eyes have got to be on that Europa League, don't it?
They have to be, don't they? I mean, if you look at it, it's the only part of silverware we can get. It's what can rescue a very indifferent and lower than expected Premier League campaign. It'll get us back into the Champions League. It is the silver lining in the cloud, isn't it? It's got to be all eggs in that basket now, and we do as much as we can to make sure that the main players are available for those ties.
Yeah. But let's move on. But definitely good news on the injury front. I mean, that's the first time I've said that for a long time. Good news on the injury front. Let's talk about this article in The Guardian today regarding investment into the football club, and The Guardian are claiming that Qatari investors are interested in buying Tottenham Hotspur. They want control of Spurs, but the proposed takeover could take the form of a phased buyout. Tottenham have been subject of long-standing interest from potential investors in America and the Middle East, but no one has met the £3.75 billion valuation. The identity of the Qatari bidders is unclear, but we have been told that it is private individuals rather than the government-backed Qatar Sports Investment, QSI, or Sheikh Jassim, who tried to buy Manchester United just 2 years ago. The article does go over and say that Daniel Levy could be given the chance to stay on at Tottenham by a consortium seeking to buy the club. A group of Qatari investors are willing to give Levy a long-term contract to continue running Spurs as executive chairman. What's your initial thoughts on that?
So first of all, not being a state fund is obviously what people were very, very concerned about. This doesn't seem to be it so far, according to reports. So no issue there. I'm struggling to understand what executive chairman means. If executive chairman means you step well away from football, and I mean well away from football, and you do not have any involvement whatsoever, as much as I pain to say it, okay, if that's what it takes, that you go and you focus on that side and you've got nothing to do with football, that's a middle ground to me. But if it's for him to continue and be involved with players, absolutely not. I would welcome the finance. We've been crying out for finance. I've been wanting new owners, and they could potentially be here. I will put a stick in the mud and say it's very convenient that it's come out just a few days before a protest. They've never done anything like this before, have they? But that's the bit that's getting to me, the executive chairman bit. What does executive chairman mean? What do you reckon it means, Ben?
I'm not sure, but with them saying that they want to put Daniel Levy on a long-term contract, so that to me says instead of him owning part of the club, he's going to get a wage from the club to do his work. And if that's the case, then, and if he's under, the bosses of the Qataris, and all I care about is if they want to put football first at this football club. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
And if they're Daniel Levy's bosses and that's what they say they want, and they want to pump loads of money into the club, and we're going to start buying players and, adding up the wage values of the team, instead of being sixth or seventh highest wages, be up there with the second, third and fourth up there, with the money that this club generates. So if that's what it looks like, then I'm all for it. But we don't know. We don't know what this looks like. And also on top of that, I struggle to really believe any reports like this, because we've heard it all before, haven't we? Over so many years, we've heard this one's interested, that one's interested. No one's met the valuation that ENIC want for the football club. So as much as it all sounds great, and we all know Qataris, or certain Qataris, have a lot of money to throw around, and you look at different kind of invested in the Middle East. I think Qatari consortium own PSG, don't they? And they pump hell of a lot of money into them.
Yep.
Not Qataris, but other Middle Eastern projects. They own Manchester City. We all know what's going on there with the 115 charges and stuff. But if they want to bring glory to this football club, I'm all for it. But I have my reservations about it. That's for sure.
I'll add on to this, Ben. Not this January, just gone, or two or three Januaries ago. It was QSI that were all the rumours, and that was during the January transfer window. And obviously that side, that everyone was looking that way whilst nothing happened. You saw pictures of Levy out at the F1 with the Qataris, but it was nothing to do with football. It was to do with the F1 and what was going on at the stadium. I find this highly coincidental. Well, there is no coincidence. This has come out 5 days or whatever it is now before a very big protest against the current ownership. If it's true and there is legs to it, let's hope it really gathers pace. But maybe if someone said to me, do you believe, have faith in this, or you think it's a smokescreen? I'm going to say smokescreen.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see that point of view, and I'm definitely also I don't believe it really. But on the other hand, we do know that ENIC and Daniel Levy are openly looking for investment into the football club, whether that be a full takeover, minority investment. We do assume it's more minority investment than full takeover, but we know that they are looking for it. So maybe you can put two and two together.
Yeah. This is the thing. You never know with Spurs, do you? Just when you think 2 and 2 should equal 4, it all adds to 44 because someone's forgot to add the extra digits in. But we wait and see. But like we said, I think a lot of this as well, a lot of people are saying they don't want to be state funded and all the drama that brings. This doesn't seem to be that. And if they are prepared, like you said, to come in and their intentions are football first, then you're not going to hear any complaints from me.
Yeah. And on top of that, by the way, we also know that in the last couple of months, Daniel Levy I think Daniel Levy or Enoch, I can't remember which one, they bought more shares in the club.
Yep.
And the reason that they did that, in my opinion, is so they get more value when they do eventually go on and sell the club. So that could play into that as well.
Completely agree with you. Well, they announced it just before the North London derby, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it got to the point, and I'm exactly aligned with you on that one. Maybe this is starting to add to 4. Only time will tell, and if it does add 4, 2 and 2 add 4, bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess hopefully more information will come out of that pretty soon. We're going to talk about specific players now, and starting off with Romero. The Bleacher Report says that Tottenham are ready to make Romero their highest paid player in a bid to keep hold of him. Currently under contract until 2027, but they are ready and willing to hand him a new deal which will see him commit his long-term future and become the club's highest earner. Tottenham remain hopeful that they can persuade Romero to sign a long-term contract. I mean, I just can't see it at this current moment in time with the way the club is, with what we're doing on a football pitch. I just can't see him signing a contract. He's got 2 years left in the summer, right? We've heard the likes of Real Madrid could potentially be interested. And until Spurs start showing significant improvements on the pitch and start matching ambitions of players like Romero, I just don't think he's going to sign a contract.
Yeah, I mean, this came out yesterday, didn't it? And obviously, I feel the same again. I just don't see. I think it's another player at the moment that's always said that he loves the club, he loves London, he loves this, he loves that. But at the end of the day, they want to be able to challenge for the major honours. They want to know that the club's progressing, and it looks like it's another player that could. I agree with you. I think Madrid have come calling, and we know the affiliation with South Americans and those 2 clubs over in Spain, as well as any other player. Let's face it, in any other club, if Barca or Real come, your eyes and ears open. But if there is any legs to this takeover that we've just spoken about, maybe one of the first things they do is go, right, Kuti, here you go, wallop. Here's a big wage, and this is what we're going to do. I mean, that's a far off dream and hope. But I agree with you. I think this is another PR stunt to try and throw people off the scent. And it's very easy to say we're ready to give him the big money if he's already had conversations saying that he's not happy and he wants out, or Real have come. I wish Romero could stay. I would love him to stay. I'd love him to commit, because on his day he's brilliant. On his day he's brilliant. But the injuries always creep in, don't they?
Yeah, no, that's also true. But currently he's the 3rd highest earner at the club, underneath Sonny and underneath Maddison, level on par with Timo Werner, funnily enough. But on 165 grand a week, I mean, you'd expect, if that is true, they would put him on around 200 grand a week, around that kind of value, where I think that's what he's kind of worth in the current market today. You're looking at World Cup winner, been there, done it with his current international team in Argentina, and he's been very central to that. A top player, Romero, when you get everything working around him. When you're looking at potentially where he can go, I'm led to believe, if you're looking at the current stories in the press, is that Real Madrid want to make Saliba their number 1 target, and Saliba also going into the last couple of years of his contract. If Saliba does end up going to Real Madrid, like, who is going to offer us the big money that we want for Romero, either this summer or the following summer? I can't see anyone really doing it.
That's actually a really, really good point. I didn't know the Saliba Real Madrid links. A North London central defender, Real Madrid off. Wow. Listen, what I will say, when you said around 200 grand a week, the way I read that and the way you said it, when I say to make him the highest earner, I think they might proceed what Sonny's on. Maybe, I don't know if Sonny's got parity that he has to be the same as the top earner.
Sonny's on about 190.
Okay, so when you say 200, there is that little bit higher. We'll have to wait and see. But you're right. If Saliba was to go to Real Madrid and they found it easier to get that over the line rather than dealing with Tottenham, or Saliba showed the bigger desire and ready to go, I can't think of another club that's going to stump up the money for him. It's going to be very, very hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and if that is the case, and you still can't persuade Romero to sign a contract, then you really do risk losing him for little next to nothing. Because then, if he doesn't go this summer or next summer, you run the risk of losing him for free.
You do, unless he wants to sign a contract, then they have a release fee put in for him if he extends it for like a year. You never know how it works around, but yeah, you always know when they're 2 years left of their contract, that's when trouble's ahead, isn't it? If they're not going to commit, you've got to start doing the maths, doing the working out when do you release him, what's the value. Let's just hope we don't get to that.
Yeah, let's hope so. Another player in this one is our top earner in Son Heung-min. Give me Sport, not the most credible source, but they say Tottenham are considering parting ways with Sonny in the summer. This one I'll be bitterly disappointed about if there's any truth to it. I don't believe there is truth to it, but for argument's sake, let's say that there is. With him having 1 year left in his deal, do you think Spurs would consider selling him this summer, or do you think we'll most look to run down his contract and maybe let him see it out?
I would prefer the latter, in all honesty. But we know, like with Harry Kane, what this club will do. They won't let players go for free. And if there's no desire to extend it or whatever, and it's get some money in for him, I think Sonny has been let down by Tottenham Hotspur. I think he's been overplayed and undervalued. During his peak time when he had all the stars around him, so there were elite players around him, that's kind of gone. He is like the standout player at the club, the icon, so to speak. And we've just expected too much for him, overplayed him, haven't been able to give him a rest, expect him to always pull something out of the bag when he can't do it himself. I really hope he doesn't leave. It will be a sad way that his career ended if we were to let him go in the summer. But I can't see Spurs letting him go on a free.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got so much more to give, I believe. At 32 years of age, I don't think he's past it or over the hill. I hate these kind of narratives around Sonny, and I just feel like the system doesn't really suit him that much, and I feel that he's just completely knackered at the moment. And I think you do see kind of good performances sprinkled in there, but for the most part, I just think he's just completely knackered and dead on his feet, and should be rotating him a bit more with the likes of a Mikey Moore, with potentially other academy players that we do have, giving him a bit of respite and give him a bit of rest when we can. So I just feel like we're not managing him in the right way at the moment, but I still think he's the best player at the club in terms of quality-wise.
Listen, when it comes to finishing and standout moments, I think I'd have to agree with you. You look at it, Kulu's progressing, but obviously he's knackered and having to play out wide, so his form has dipped a little bit. If you were to say you need a moment of magic from one player to get Spurs out of a jam, I think a lot of us would say it would fall on Heung-min Son's shoulders. Whether, like we've seen, I mean, what we'll say is 2 years ago or even a season ago, that attempt against Villa is in the back of the net. You're walking back to the halfway line. Obviously, he didn't take that chance. But if someone said to me 90th minute, someone has got to get a bit of magic and create a goal or score a goal, who are you giving the ball to? It would be Heung-min Son.
But as well, you see those misses, and you've seen those misses throughout the season as well for Sonny, which you don't really associate with him, particularly of late. But I think that's more of a confidence issue than a quality issue. And you can see at the end of every game, you can see by his demeanour how much it's hurting him what's going on with Tottenham Hotspur right now. I mean, he loves the club so much, doesn't he?
Yeah, and again, we said it, overplayed. It could be exhaustion, but tiredness. He needs the rest to keep him fresh. I mean, I know it was only Elfsborg, with no disrespect to the Swedish team and the standard they're at, but in that first half, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
Game against Leicester, the one that we lost and the protest was big. That first half, he's the brightest player. There's moments where when he's up for it and he's ready, he can be a game changer. But unfortunately, through overplaying him too much, those moments and those halves of 90 minutes are few and far between on a regular basis at the moment.
Yeah, we need to get him playing with that smile on his face. And I think it all encapsulated as well. Like after the Villa game, I was watching him and some of the other players after the game as soon as final whistle went. And usually, win, lose or draw, Sonny is the first one to come over to the away end and clap the fans. And he kind of like half-heartedly walked up to the away end and then just went down the tunnel. And it was just so sad to see what he's going through right now and what the club's going through right now. But that's on Sonny. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now with potential targets coming into the club, Tutto Sport claim that Tottenham have made concrete interest in signing Fiorentina striker Moise Kean. Club officials will be in attendance at the San Siro tonight to watch him against Inter Milan. The player has a €52 million release clause in his contract, which will be active from July onwards. And Corriere dello Sport saying that Fiorentina are considering offering Kean a new contract containing an increased release clause following interest from Tottenham and Arsenal. He's currently having what you say is the best season of his career so far out in Fiorentina Serie A. I'm just trying to see how many goals he scored because it is in double figures. I just can't remember the exact figure. So let me just get that up. Yeah, he scored 15 goals. 15 goals in 22 appearances in Serie A this season, which is really unbelievable numbers. The last time he's got anything close to that was for PSG back in 2021 season, 26 game, 13 goals. Obviously, this is a lot better strike rate than that. 24 years of age, 6-foot striker. He's been at Everton, didn't play too much, didn't really, set the world alight over there. After Everton, he got that loan to PSG, did okay, and off the back of that, got a move to Juventus. And then again, at Juventus, didn't do too well. But he's really seemed to have found a home at Fiorentina, and he's banging in the goals for fun this season.
It looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, the player we saw at Everton didn't look anything like a player that could get 14, 15 goals a season. He's doing it at Serie A. There's still plenty of time of the season left. He's definitely powerful, isn't he? He's big, he's powerful. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't watched Fiorentina, so I don't know the style of goal. Is he just in the box? Is he a fox in the box? Is he a hold-up player? But I don't know if Spurs, if this is... First of all, you got to love concrete interest. Nothing beats concrete interest. You got to love it. I don't know if he's a player for Spurs. You got Solanke. I think there's other targets we're looking for, but it looks like Spurs still want to get that striker. And it looks like... Look at a striker. What's that say about Matthias Tell?
I don't know if it says much about Baptiste Tell, but I think it says a lot about someone like Richarlison.
That's a good point. I didn't even look at it that way. It's a good point. You're right.
Because I think Tell. There's a world where you sign Tell and Kean, right? Tell. I think the way I was looking at Tell in when we signed him at the back end of January was, if we do end up taking up the option, he could be our long-term replacement for Sonny. That's how good I believe he can be out on the left-hand side. So if you're looking at a Kean, I think he would come in to replace Richarlison.
Yeah, do you know what? We so rarely get to talk about Richarlison on the pitch that I completely forgot about him just there. So, yeah, you're right. It makes sense. I don't know if he would be the player I would choose, but when his goals are doing that well at Fiorentina, and obviously... There have been quite a few, and I spoke to you on the phone today, didn't I? Mo Salah, I'm not comparing him to Mo Salah before everyone goes nuts. He found at Chelsea, went to Italy. Obviously did very, very well. One of those teams was Fiorentina against Spurs. We saw what he could do. Came back and took to the Premier League like a duck to water. So maybe a time in Italy and then coming back over to Spurs. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, but whether it goes ahead, whether it goes through, or it's just the noise starting again, we'll have to wait and see.
He's also had 19 caps for the Italian first team, scoring 5 goals. But you got to remember as well, when he did join Everton, he was a young boy. I mean, he was 19 years of age. So it's hard for a boy of that age coming into a new league and a new surroundings and everything like that, particularly to a team that ain't doing that well either in terms of Everton. So... yeah, maybe he's starting to find his feet in his career, because there's definitely been signs of how good he can be, even for Juventus, for Paris Saint-Germain. Because you got to remember as well that Juventus signed him back off Everton. They sold him Juventus sold him to Everton and then bought him back off Everton. So I mean, they clearly felt like there was a player there, but they did end up sending him in the end.
Exactly, yeah, but he seems to be doing well at Fiorentina. What have we got? What did you say? He's got 15 goals this season.
15 goals in 22 games.
Yeah, he's still got. I mean, that no matter what you look at, that is a very good ratio, no matter what league you're in.
Yeah.
In all honesty, so well done him. See if he can hold this form till the end of the season, and we'll see. And it looks like Spurs. You said Spurs and Arsenal, so that'll be interesting. That's what the report says. So that'll be another interesting one, wouldn't it? The centre backs to Real Madrid, and then we'll have a Moise Kean bid off.
Yeah. Next up, and the last player that we're going to talk about is Johnny Cardoso. Footy Insider says that Tottenham do plan to activate the £21 million release clause for Johnny Cardoso from Betis this summer. Ange has identified him as the one he wants to strengthen a priority position. Agreeing personal terms is expected to be a formality. And we heard about this in the summer. We know we've got the option as part of the Giovanni Lo Celso deal. He's having a very good season with Betis this year, which will do more to convince Spurs that he's the man for us. And we're just so desperate in that position. But if we do bring him in, it's going to have to be the first couple of weeks of July. And if we do bring him in, surely there's got to be a full guy in terms of one of Bissouma or Bentancur. So, I mean, who would you prefer it to be?
Bissouma. Bissouma without obviously Bentancur's last couple of performances haven't been exactly inspiring or anything to write home about, but it's a like for like, isn't it? If it looks like we've got this clause and it seems like we will activate it, one of those two, like you said, have to make way. And Bissouma flatters to deceive. There's games where he can be brilliant, isn't there? Absolutely untouchable, unbelievable, but they are very, very few and far between. And especially since the first 10 games of Ange. And I just can't see him progressing at Tottenham. I just can't see it. And I think he would be the one I would personally get rid of to bring in Cardoso.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Bissouma as well. I mean, just the big games really get to me with Bissouma. You look at mistakes that he's done this season, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. I mean, the list goes on, and there were more last season as well. Man City away, terrible mistake in that game to give away a goal. I mean, whenever it comes to the big games, he just doesn't have the mentality to really have those concentration levels that he needs to play against the best. And you know what? Bentancur as well. Bentancur probably a bit less so than Bissouma, but these last two games, he's the one that's been suspended for all this time, for injured all this time. He should be one of the fittest players on the pitch for Tottenham Hotspur. And when we needed him the most, against Villa and against Liverpool in these crunch cup games, he's gone missing. And these last two games have really annoyed me. Really, really annoyed me, the Bentancur. So I tell you the truth, I wouldn't really be bothered if we lost both of them this summer.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd agree with you. I mean, I did see today, and I watched it back on a clip. I hadn't realised this. The second goal that they conceded against Villa, his lack of desire to help Porro, and he's just walking around that penalty area, and I only saw that properly.
It's embarrassing.
It's not on. You're a professional footballer, and you're meant to be one of these influential players and experienced players, to not have any commitment or determination to fight for the ball. You might not have won the challenge, but at least put some pressure on the guy, and he's just walking around like he's taking his dog for a walk.
Yeah.
And I was very, very upset with that, really upset. But like you said, if both players go, as long as the good replacements come in, fine. But if we had to take one out for Cardoso to come in, my first choice would be Bissouma.
I'd agree. And last but not least, we're going to talk about a few potential manager targets. Inter Live, an Inter Milan publication, says that Daniel Levy is considering sacking Ange Postecoglou once the season finishes. Fabio Paratici is attempting to convince Daniel Levy to appoint Simone Inzaghi as his replacement. Andoni Iraola and Marco Silva are also in the frame as well. Simone Inzaghi is obviously an interesting candidate. He's had two jobs in his career, whether it be Lazio and Inter Milan. He's won three cups at Lazio in 2017 and two in 2019. And for Inter Milan, he's won 5 cups and 1 Serie A title, and also getting to a Champions League final and losing on the day. He's also come second in 1 Serie A. He came runners-up in the Supercoppa as well as with Lazio. He came runners-up in the Coppa Italia once as well. So he's definitely a manager that knows how to get over the line and win stuff in his fairly short career. He was 5 years at Lazio, and he's in his 4th year now at Inter Milan. But he is a manager that plays the 3 at the back system with 3-5-2 or whatever it may be, 3-4-3, and we just sacked one of those in Antonio Conte and went in a completely different direction with Ange Postecoglou. So I mean, it would be, with the way Spurs are going about their managerial targets, it would be classic Spurs to go in that direction again, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, and also it would be, if Ange goes at any point, he hasn't won the Europa League, that will be a third manager that won everywhere and hasn't won anything. Why not do it with a 4th manager? Why not get another manager in that's won everywhere they go and have their record blocked by Spurs? He's a winner, isn't he? He's a winner as a player. He's a winner as a manager. I just don't know if Spurs would go. I know he's got a bit of a fire in his belly. Will Spurs go for one of those managers that will call it as it is, that will hold people accountable in public? I just can't see it, but I'd welcome it. I would certainly welcome it. Would you welcome it, Ben? Obviously,
I mean, I don't know too much about him. That's the reality. I don't. So it's hard to make a big judgment call, or would I want him? But just judging by his CV and judging by the amount of goals his team score and the amount of goals his team concede, it does look like a really interesting option. But then again, do we want to go back to that 3 at the back system? But then again, I have spoken to you many times that saying that our team right now is kind of built for that. When you're looking at Pedro Porro and Udogie, they're actual wing backs, so that would suit. We got enough centre backs to play that kind of role, and I think Dragusin might fit that kind of system a bit better. You got Van der Ven, you got Romero, you got players that can definitely suit that defence that a 3 at the back manager would want. Is it the kind of attacking, free-flowing football that we want? I know he is more attacking, and he plays that system a bit more attacking than maybe an Antonio Conte does, but I haven't seen it enough to really make that judgment call.
Well, you know where it's been, and you and I have had this conversation before, and I've mentioned it many times. One of the things that frustrates me with our managerial appointments is we always go either a completely different type of manager, style-wise, or we bring in managers that won't suit the actual players that we've got here. Now, obviously, Inzaghi may play a different style of football to Ange Postecoglou, but like you said, the players that he's got, if he was to walk in right now, if Ange goes, he's got the players there to work with, hasn't he? He's got the nucleus, like you said. He's got a back 5 he can use. He's got 2 outright wing backs. So it will be a good move from Spurs. If that was to happen and all the dust settles and Ange does go, and we might not get a very, very attacking-minded player, although manager, even though they do score loads of goals into Milan. You look at it, and he's got the players to build on, hasn't he?
The thing that I worry about with him potentially is his ability to bring through youth and nurture the youth talent that we've got. That's maybe a concern, because I'm not sure what he's like. But what I do know is that, Inter Milan usually buy kind of over-the-hill players at towards the end of their career, rather than maybe giving youth a chance. So I mean, that's a big reservation I'd have, and I think that point has to be non-negotiable for me. The manager that we bring in next has to be a manager that can nurture and bring through youth, in my opinion.
Yep, just as we're saying how he has the right players, then you bring in the youth and he doesn't do it, and it's like, oh, for God's sake. So yeah, now I don't know how I'd feel about it. But like I said, his CV for winning things would be a yes. Whether he brings through youth would be a big question mark, because as you said, we do need a manager that will coach, nurture, and look after them and bring them through correctly. And we'll have to wait and see. But there's more question marks there now, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that is all the Tottenham update that we have for you today. Thank you, Brian, for coming and joining us. Everyone do go subscribe to Tottenham on Tour, and we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.